Uniqueness is your superpower. After a successful but unfulfilling career in tech, I set off to uncover what makes people successful and satisfied. I discovered the systems of astrology and human design, studied and applied them for years, and exchanged my 9-to-5 for the entrepreneur's adventure. Now I share insight from the cosmic cutting edge. This podcast is for ambitious people ready to use their unique genius to create wealth, positive impact, and personal fulfillment. We'll talk personal branding, business, and leadership. Time to be courageous and seen. Let's reach for the stars. Welcome back to the Cosmic Queen podcast. I am Rachel Onajaffe, your host and founder of Cosmic Queen. Today, we are tackling a major source of stress in the entrepreneurial community, and that is the niche. The title of this episode is The Niche, Creativity Killer or Sound Strategy. What do you think? Let me know. I would love for you to check in with yourself and see which one you think it is at the beginning of this episode. And then at the end of this episode to check back in. And what is it we say? What is it we Americans say? I've been living in England too long. Circle back. We're going to circle back at the end of this episode. And I want you to really think about this and then see what you think at the end. Creativity killer or sound strategy. Now, if you have been in business for any small amount of time, you will know how vociferously people defend their positions on this. It is wild. People get so hot under the collar, excuse me. They get so hot under the collar when they think about niching. Some people say, yeah, duh, of course you have to do it. Like that's ridiculous. And you're being irresponsible in your business if you're not niching hard. And then other people say, what? Niching? That's so like, early to mid 2000s. Like we're done with that. Like we need to have more freedom and creativity and we don't niche and all of this kind of thing. So I want to share with you some insight today from Cosmic Systems on the question of niching. Of course I do. I am Cosmic Queen. That's why we're here. We're talking about cosmic systems in relation to business and entrepreneurship. And of course, my cat, and this is a real life podcast, my cat thinks it's time to come in. So let me let him in just a minute. Artemis, are you for real right now? Like, do you really? Come on. You better come in if you really want in. Yes, this is my cat, Artemis. Okay, so back to niching. What we do here at Cosmic Queen is we are looking at life and business, branding, marketing, etc., all of these things. And we are looking at it through the lens of personalization. You will never on this podcast hear a broad, sweeping statement that applies to all people, because that's just not how life works. And that's just not how cosmic systems work. Because cosmic systems like human design and astrology are all about differentiation. They're all about honoring our uniqueness and recognizing that not only are we different, but our difference is our superpower. So, with that in mind, I want you to lower the stress level if you are stressed thinking about this, thinking about your business, thinking about this conversation about niching. Lower it and just be open to the conversation about whether or not niching is right for you in your business. First of all, let's define a few terms. So what is a niche? What do I mean when I say niching? And I think this is a huge problem with the debate about niching, is that no one is defining the terms. I used to want to be a lawyer. I did speech and debate, parliamentary style and regular style for many, many years. This is my thing. We always got to define the terms. If we do not define the terms, then we are arguing about nothing. So what I say when I mean niche is being specific about one of two things in business. There are two different ways to niche for the purposes of this podcast. One is niching your audience. Okay. So what I mean by that is being specific about who you serve with your services or your products. Who are your people that you are speaking to, that you are servicing with your business? Being very specific about that. So, and knowing that not everyone is going to fit into that audience because you have a niche audience, right? So that's one type of niching. The other type of niching is the type that most people are talking about, I think, which is niching your offers. And when you niche your offers, so whatever it is, if you're, I mostly work with people who are service providers, but if you are a service provider or a product provider, it doesn't matter. There's a particular problem that you're solving, or there's a particular result or solution that people want from you. So your product or service solves a certain problem, or your product or service provides a certain solution. You can look at it either way. So two types of niching, right? When people say, should you niche or not, they're making a broad sweeping generalization. And I want you to get a little more specific. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the profile lines in human design as an indicator of whether or not you are going to feel better or worse niching. Why does this matter? How you feel? It does, because your feelings, your instincts, and trusting them and really knowing what's right for you truly does matter. It matters when you are choosing a partner in life. It matters when you are designing a business. How you feel is important. It is not all about logic. It is not all about what Joe Schmo next door did with their business. It is about how you feel and what is right for you. I will get off my soapbox for a moment. Okay, so let's talk about the human design profile line. So profile lines, if you are new, if you're uninitiated in the human design world, human design is a system that helps us understand how our energy works, how our energy interacts with the world, and what we can do to be more in alignment, which is going to give us more successful results. And it's also a system of personality, which helps us to understand our personality, what we're like, what our gifts are, what our challenges are, where our blind spots are, all of these things. And so it incorporates astrology into it, but it is a sister system, shall we say, to astrology. And the profile lines are all about helping us to reveal what is driving us internally, both consciously and subconsciously. And they're very connected to our purpose, to our life purpose and our work in the world. So there are 6 different profile lines. There are a couple of the profile lines that are very prone to wanting to niche. So niching is going to feel very natural to them. And then there are a couple of profile lines where niching really doesn't feel very natural. And it can feel like this real resistance, like, oh, like I just don't like the idea of only serving one group of people, or I just don't think that my service is only solving one problem, right? Or that I am here to only solve one problem with my work, right? So there are different leanings that the profile lines are going to have. And so knowing what your profile lines are is going to help you understand if niching is going to feel natural to you, or if you're actually, in fact, forcing it. So that's number 1 of what we want to do. Okay, so let's go through the profile lines one by one. So the first profile line is called the investigator. The 1 profile line, if you have a 1 in your profile, you are going to feel good niching. You're probably going to be very drawn to niching. You're probably going to be like, yes, oh my gosh, because you are going to be someone who likes to get to the bottom of things, that likes to investigate, but you're not going to be someone who likes to investigate everything. You're probably going to have certain things that you are really obsessed with and really into and really interested in working on, and not so much other things. And so the idea of a niche is great for you because you're like, great, I don't want to waste my time investigating and doing all this research into things I'm not interested in. So remember, we talked about 2 different types of niching. So niching the problem that you're solving, niching the results that you're going to help people to get with whatever your product or service is a very natural thing for first lines to do. You're going to want to do that. So I hope that makes sense to you, how I'm describing that. So if you have a 1 in your profile, niching is going to be a more natural thing for you to do. Now, if you have a 2 in your profile, then you are a hermit, or otherwise known as a natural. You may feel ambivalent about niching. You may be one of those people that is really overthinking this. Raise your hand if that's you. I know I can't see you, but that's probably, if you've got a 2 in your profile, you're probably really overthinking the niching thing, because you are someone who has a lot of different talents. Often people who are 2 lines, when they were children, they could do so many things. Like I'm a 2 line. So I wanted to be an astronaut and go to space camp at one point. I wanted to be a princess / president of the United States. I wanted to be a writer, a singer, a poet. I wanted to be a fashion model. Like I wanted to do so many things, and I could have done them. This is the thing, is that these are not like wild kind of ideas. Like I have the talent and skill to do all of those things, but can I do all those things in one lifetime? Not so far. So the 2 line is very talented and very skilled in a lot of different areas, and they love to explore and be creative in a wide variety of areas. And so for them, they're going to chafe if someone's telling them that they have to choose one thing from the product and services side. Now, what's different is from the audience side. I think that it's very good for people who are 2 lines to think about their people. So yes, they may have lots of different, vibes and lots of different things that they do and lots of different talents, but it's likely that there is a certain type of person who is very attracted to their work. And I'm going to give us a couple of celebrity examples here. Okay, so Rihanna. I love to use the example of multi-talented, multi-passionate people with the example of the singer Rihanna. So I say the singer, but she is now the billionaire, the fashion mogul, right? The icon, the makeup innovator, right? There are so many different things that Rihanna is now known for and has created into all of these different careers. So you could say her career, but it's not really her career. There are like 10 different careers going on, and she's doing all of them incredibly well. And it's so inspiring to see. She is a 2/4. She's also a manifesting generator. So type can come in, but for the sake of this podcast, to keep it simple, we are talking about profile line. She is a 2/4. The 2 line is conscious, the ability to have all this creativity that needs different outlets, right? So she has lots of different products, lots of different services, but there is a certain vibe of person that will buy anything that Rihanna sells, right? It's called me. So, Fenty, give it to me. Fenty Savage, lingerie, give it to me. The music, give it to me. The everything, right? So there's a certain vibe, a certain person that Rihanna is for, but not, so you want to niche the audience if you're Rihanna, but you don't want to niche the products and services. Do you see what I mean? See, it's a nuance. It's a nuanced answer here. It's not yes or no. But there are very strong indications in your human design profile that is going to tell you when it's yes and when it's no, and what you're going to feel more drawn to and what's going to be more natural to you. Okay, so we've done the first profile line, we've done the second profile line. Let's talk about the third one. The third profile line does not want to niche. It is going to feel bad. It is just going to feel bad. If you have a 3 in your profile, whether it's the first number or the second number, especially if it's the first number, you are not going to want to niche. You are here to experiment, to explore. The third line is called the martyr, but it's also called the explorer. You're here to taste the buffet of life. You are not here to just settle for one thing, and you should do that. You should allow yourself to go for the buffet. And people are attracted to you not because of a niche. They're attracted to you because they love the adventure that you are taking them on. So take them on that adventure. Take yourself on that adventure. Forget about niching. It's not your thing. All right, then we get to fourth line. The fourth line is also known as the opportunist. You could also call it the networker. So the fourth line is all about working with a specific group of people. So you can already hear in the way I'm saying it, the fourth line has an actual harmonic with the first line. They both like specificity. Therefore, they are both going to feel drawn to niching. So if you have a 4 in your profile line, you are going to feel more drawn to niching, especially niching to a certain type of person. You're going to want to niche your audience. You might want to niche your product as well, but the fourth line is really about niching the audience. It's like, all right, I'm not here for everyone. Oftentimes people who have a fourth line have a real love-hate relationship with social media because of this, because they're like, I don't want to talk to everyone. I just want to talk to my steampunk people. It's like you have a very specific, often aesthetic, often vibe, often look, often all these things, a very aesthetic, or very specific set of values, a very specific way that you like to do things, very specific, way you want to exchange goods and services. So the fourth line is going to feel more naturally drawn to niching their audience. So you might say, well, wait a minute. Okay, you talked about Rihanna, right? You talked about Rihanna being a 2-4 manifesting generator. The 2 is the leading energy. So she's going to be like, I'm not niching my products, but I might niche my audience, right? I'm going to do lots of different things, but I'm going to do it for the same people. But then that fourth line, again, reinforces that and says, yeah, you've got all these different skills, all this creativity flowing out, and it's for a certain people. It's for a certain audience. So that's reinforcing it. So the 2 and the 4 are working together harmonically to support the best way that she can be successful in life and business. And we see that very clearly. Now, to contrast, and let me give a different example. We have Jessica Alba. Okay, so those of you who know Jessica Alba, also self-made billionaire, I believe at this point in time, is the founder, creator of The Honest Company, and she is a 1-4 generator. I love to give this kind of like contrast between entrepreneurs. Okay, so Jessica Alba is known for that thing. So she was a actress, but it's like her work and career has narrowed to be very specifically about The Honest Company. So that is it. It's like, okay, we're here to solve the problem of not trusting the chemicals and ingredients that are in our everyday toiletries and products for children and adults. And we're going to create something that is honest, that is more clean, that is more eco-friendly, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very specific proposition for a very specific group of people. That is what the 1-4 is going to feel very comfortable with. They're here to do a specific thing for a specific group of people. It's actually part of the 1-4 connection. So you can see how that is different from my example of Rihanna. So I hope that that is a kind of great way to bring it to life for you. Now let's jump into the 5th and the 6th line. So the last 2 lines, the profile lines in human design, and how they feel about niching. The 5th line. The 5th line is kind of like the 2. It's unsure. It's unsure if it wants to niche or not. It's like, I don't know. I kind of think I should niche, but part of me thinks maybe not, right? That 5th line is unsure. And this is why, because the 5th line wants to be for the masses. The 5th line wants to be the hero. So it's called the heretic or the hero, wants to be the hero and save the biggest number of people possible. It wants to be here for the masses. And so when you say masses, that sounds like we're not niching, right? That sounds like we're for everyone. And the fifth line really wants to be more for everyone. And so there's this natural leaning away from niching the audience. But there's another aspect to the fifth line. So the fifth line also is a consummate problem solver. And that is what they're known for solving problems. Therefore, the fifth line is also going to lean towards niching the product or the service. So away from the niching the audience, but towards niching the product and service. So if you have a 5 in your profile, then you are probably going to want to be for the largest amount of people. You want a mass audience. You want to speak to a broad platform of people. When I say broad, I mean in numbers, many, many people you want to serve and support, but you're going to want to do it in a certain way because you're here to solve certain problem. Now, does this mean that if you have a fifth line in your profile that you need to have one niche? No, you don't have to have one niche. You could be a serial entrepreneur. You can have multiple streams of income. You can have multiple businesses, but they need to solve a particular problem or provide a particular solution, because that is where the fifth line really shines. Last but not least, we have the sixth line. So the sixth line is called the role model. And the sixth line is the last line. They go in a certain order in the hexagram. So you have the lower trigram, the upper trigram, etc. In human design. And then the six is like the final stage, kind of Pisces energy in a way. If you think about it in astrology, Pisces is the end and the kind of the wise person, the wise sage. That's how the sixth line is as well. So when you get to the sixth line loves to refine things, loves to be a teacher, loves to bring the wisdom to the people and allow them to take that and run with it. And they use their own life as an example. I think that this is my view around niching in the sixth line. I think the sixth line doesn't like to niche. I think that any kind of niche for the sixth line is going to happen organically. By telling their story, there will be a certain person who hears that story, hears about their life experiences, and is incredibly moved and inspired by them. And they're going to self-select themselves to say, yeah, this is my teacher. Yes, this is the person that I'd love to learn from. I don't think it's necessarily the sixth line person's job to decide that ahead of time. I think that it's the sixth lines person's job to show up, be visible, and tell their story, and let the people come to them. From the product point of view, the sixth line person is probably naturally going to have a certain thing that they like to teach, a certain area that they want to help people with, but I wouldn't say that they have to narrow it down to one. So if any line is kind of not that interested in niching, it might be the sixth. So I want you to now think about yourself and recognize that every person has two lines. So likely, it's highly likely, given my summary of this, of the two different types of niching and which lines lean which way, it is highly likely that you will have a part of your design that wants to niche in a certain way, either wants to niche the audience that you're speaking to, or wants to intentionally niche the products and services that solve a certain problem or provide a certain solution to your people. So, it's too simple to say, yes, you have to niche, or no, you shouldn't niche. The reality is that there is probably going to be some kind of niching, but the level of niching and the area of your business in which you're doing the niching is going to change based on who you are and how your natural energy wants to work, and not only wants to work, but wants to interact with the world. Now, today we talked about the profile lines, the 6 profile lines. There are other aspects of your human design. We haven't even talked about astrology, but there are other aspects of your human design which could show you and give you an indication of niching. namely your aura type, because your aura type is how you interact with people. And you can have aspects of yourself that don't agree with each other. You can have two opposite end aspects of yourself. For example, Beyonce is a 1-3. So you can have, and she's a manifesting generator. Manifesting generators tend to not want to niche, and they are actually better off not niching because they are so multi-talented and multi-interested in having lots of different projects and things going on at the same time. They don't want to be bored. So manifesting generators in general should not niche. But then she's got the third line, which also does not want to niche, wants to explore. But then you've got the first line. And the first line loves to niche and wants to get to the bottom of certain things and research certain things and become an expert in certain things. And so you may be someone like Beyonce who has these different sides of your personality, these different sides of the way that your energy works. And what's important is that you honor all of them and that you really start to understand and not compare yourself to other people and really start to understand what makes you tick, what makes you special, and how you can truly shine using your human design in your career and business. So should you niche? Yes, no. It's all about the personalization. It's all about how you work as a person. So I encourage you to go deeper. I encourage you to explore. I encourage you to start applying all of this and to pay attention to your feelings. At the beginning of today, I talked about how important your feelings are, right? It's like we're not just here to follow a formula and listen to how one successful business owner works. We're here to learn about ourselves and figure out what works for us, because what works for someone else is not going to work for us. What works for us will work for us. And a lot of times we have to experiment, we have to try, we have to fail, we have to get up again and keep learning and keep going in order to discover what that is. One of the majorly, like the most important things that I have learned as an entrepreneur, and that most successful entrepreneurs will tell you, is that it is not about who has the best idea. And it is not about who is the most talented. It is about the person who is the most resilient and the one who goes the distance. So I encourage you to stick with it, no matter if you're feeling confused or doubt right now. If you're passionate and you know that this is something that you were born to do, stick with it, experiment, and keep going. As I always say, keep reaching for the stars.